Hello everyone, it's Shane Kanto, your Wasteland reviewer, and I'm here to review Fear Street, Part 3, 1666. The past couple weeks been checking out these R.L. Stine adaptations on Netflix, and they're very pulpy, very sometimes campy, over-the-top, crazy horror film fun that really draws upon a lot of other horror films. You have the beginning of the first part being basically Scream. You have the whole second movie is basically Friday the 13th kind of feel, even up to the point where the killer winds up having this mask on his head and just being like, more or less, that's what we're doing here. And it takes until the third film for these threads that have been put throughout the series, which this is written and directed by Lee Janiak. And Janiak and two fellow writers are able to thread those needles all together, weave it, and have a cohesive story by this third film, which the interesting thing is, 1666 is really two stories. Because we have the 1666 part, which honestly pulls back all the pulpiness, pulls back all the campy things, and it's just a dark, ominous hour of this film. It's desaturated, it's really creepy looking, and it's channeling the Crucible, and something that popped in my head, like similarly what Paranorman did, with this whole witch trial kinds of things. And you have a lot of the actors from the first two coming back playing characters in this story, and this is really dark and ominous, and there's one particular scene in a church that is really freaky. And I thought the scariest thing in this whole trilogy, that darkness really works to setting up what's really been going on, and finally we get the resolution of this mystery that has been building up, which is really effective. Now, from a writing standpoint, it just dropped in a bunch of exposition to another character upon returning, and that's not the most creative way. But it's still something really satisfying, and then the second half of this film kicks us right back into that pulpy, campy, full of homages of horror films in a fun, giant finale set piece that really pulls the story together. And it's fun, it's engaging. Obviously there's a big tonal shift halfway through this film, but honestly it didn't really bother me as much because this is one film in this trilogy that felt like it earned its time. Because the first one, I was like, there's 45 minutes left in this movie, what the hell? And the second one just felt so repetitive after a while because it was just like, how many other ways can we chop up these kids? This one felt like it progressed in both of these stories so well and brought us to this climax that I was really happy with it. And yeah, it's still, especially the second half, this really is not the most original series. It's still very derivative. Even how much I like the first half of this film so much, it's still basically the Crucible, and except this gets real dark because there's actual witches and some horrible things, but it's still building off of other things. And in the end, this adaptation of R.L. Stine's work really works because there's a lot of fun performances from Kiana Madeira, who's our main character. You have Gillian Jacobs, who actually gets something to do in this one. And big shout out to Benjamin Flores Jr., who plays the young brother of our main character, and I appreciated these performances. I had fun watching this series. It's not the best thing out there. There's other more original and more impactful horror films. But if you just want to have a fun time, you're a big horror movie fan, and you'll appreciate all the references being made here, Fear Street's right up your alley. And you should definitely check out not only this one, but obviously you should watch the first two first if you haven't. So I feel like Fear Street Part 3, 1666, is a tale of two stories that bleed right into each other, wraps up this trilogy in an effective and honestly fulfilling way, and I enjoyed the ride. But those are my thoughts on Fear Street. Let me know what you think, and let's talk some movies. But thank you as always for tuning in and supporting your Wasteland reviewer.